Welcome back to Project Fast Fish here on Mike's Motorworks, and today we're giving Project Fast Fish a new coat of armor. Yeah, we've already protected it from the elements with epoxy primer, and yeah, we've already got some base paint sprayed in key areas, but now it's time to kick it up with a little bit of dinosaur armor. It's Tintable Raptorliner, and we're going to apply it now. It all happens on Project Fast Fish and Mike's Motorworks. So I know there's a lot of arguments about using spray-on bedliners with your project cars. And really it comes down to what you're going to be using your car for, okay? So let me go over some of the complaints and let me go some of the arguments for or against that. All right. There are a lot of people out there that say bedliner is bedliner and it should only be used as bedliner. Well, I disagree with that completely because this stuff you could use on wood, you could use on concrete, there's industrial applications for it, there's a tons of different applications beyond just truck bed liner, okay? And truck bed liner is for the consumer market. It has come true that there were additional benefits of using RaptorLiner for protection for restoration vehicles, okay? Specifically resto mods and daily drivers. Now, other people will say, well, I don't like RaptorLiner because it hurts the value of the vehicle and it's hiding things and you can't see the welds and the work that was done, or if you're trying to hide anything. All right. So yeah, can you hide some poor work with RaptorLiner and undercoats when it's thick? Absolutely you can, okay? But why would you try to hide something? All right, so here's the deal, all right? If this was a concourse build, a numbers matching Barracuda with a 446 pack, a Dana 360, or a Dana rear end, right? It was completely numbers matching from the engine, transmission to the rear end, and it was going to various judging events and competition, and it was being restored to as per the factory, nuts and bolts. Then yeah, I probably wouldn't use it, all right? I would in fact probably even stray away from using some of the undercoating that the factory put on with the rubber. But that's not what we got going on here, right? In the resto mod market, it has become very popular to use this stuff because people know that they want it to last. And that's the reason why I'm doing it, all right? This isn't going to be a daily driver, but it's going to be a regular driver, a weekend warrior, if you will, right? And I want to make sure that all the work I've done up underneath here is good and preventing rust. You see, from the factory, they didn't use any kind of rust protection besides just a little bit of paint and some overspray and what have you. Well, now we can give it that coat of armor to make it last. Additionally, a lot of work has gone into the car, all right? There's new sheet metal up in here, floor pans, underseat pans, trunk pans, right? Went ahead and added some additional subframe connectors and some torque boxes for rigidity, and I want that to stay protected, okay? So this gives me that added protection that I know if I'm going over gravel, if I go over something, it's that additional level of protection. Now, some people say it has some sound insulation qualities to it. I'm not sure about that. Some people say it gives some thermal qualities to it. I'm not sure about that. In fact, the day that I had says it's negligible compared to the lizard skin that we put on earlier, okay? But this gives us a stronger base for our vehicle. So I'm going to use it. Resto mod guys use it. And for daily drivers, it doesn't hurt the value. All righty? So we're good to go here. Over here, we got some various goodies. Now, I went ahead and went with the Tintable Raptorliner because I wanted to match the basic color of the car. Spent a lot of time to make sure that the car is matched to the proper shade of blue, which matches the color that it came from the OE. That's how Dad had it. That's how I'm going to have it. And so I'm going to go ahead and do the color match Tintable Raptorliner. And I'm also doing that not in black because I want to see the grease spots and the stains and the smears to help me diagnose where possible problems might be occurring or to help prevent possible problems from getting worse, like your seals and so on and so forth. So I wanted to go with this. Additionally, when you're working up underneath the car, having color under there really lights things up and makes it easier to work with. So when you get your kit, you'll get it in usually a 4 container kit. I got a 6 container kit because I got a little extra that I'm doing. It'll come with enough hardware to do what you need. Alrighty. Some people recommend a mixing cup. You're going to need much bigger than the little pint cup that I have here, so you would definitely need to upgrade, but I have this up here as an example. When you get your kit, it comes with the RaptorLiner gun, or some people call it a Schutz gun, although I'm not sure if this is a Schutz because Schutz has some sort of specialty thing going on with it, but it's basically like a Schutz gun. And then, of course, it comes with the regulator. Now, I'm not going to use the regulator they supplied with, but I'm going to use the one that I have. All right, it's nothing more than a Harbor Freight regulator with a quick end and release on it, and then I equip the gun with a quick release on it. That way I could just simply move from item to item and adjust the regulation as needed. Now, if you're dealing with Tintable Raptorliner, you're going to need to get a specialty paint. And the specialty paint that I have over here is specifically made for the bedliner. There are no binders in here, okay? So it's not going to bind anything up because you don't want it to really bind until you put the hardener in. This, of course, Raptor is a 2-part product, all right? So it has a non-binder in there, and it's urethane so that it matches with the Tintable Raptorliner. And then, of course, mine's specialty color-coded for the vehicle itself. Basically, what I'm going to do here in a few minutes is I'm going to go ahead and prep these 4 bottles, okay? And when I prep the 4 bottles, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put the recommended amount of paint in there, or tint, okay? And then I'm going to use my paint mixer to mix it up. I'm not going to go ahead and spill it out everywhere. I'm going to rely on that paint mixer. That paint mixer is a lot more efficient than using hand, or hand mixing and shaking. So I'm just going to rely on that. That saves me the extra step of pouring it out. Now, if you don't have a paint mixer, you're going to need to pour out the components of the individual RaptorLiner, put in your component of the bedliner, stir it, put it back in, and mix it, okay? So you're going to have to do that extra step. I'm going to avoid that today. Now, as far as the gun itself is concerned, I'm going to go set that with 60 PSI. Now, 60 PSI should give me a different standard texture. If I were to slow it down to 40 PSI, the granules would be a little bit thicker, and I don't want the thicker granules. I want to try to achieve that smoother finish. Yes, it's going to have a wrinkle. Yes, it's going to have a bump in there, and I'm wanting that look, and it's okay here, all right? Now, when I do this in the trunk has already been lined with lizard skin. And because the trunk has already been lined with lizard skin, there's already a texture to it. So I'm going to maintain that same 60 PSI to put on the lizard skin, giving that lizard skin a tough coating on top. Because lizard skin is not designed to be used as a truck liner, and it is much softer because it has sound components in there, sound deadening components, as opposed to the protective components that you get with the Raptor. Over here, I got a scale. All right, and I went ahead and set it to ounces. I'm going to go ahead and put my cup in there, I'm going to go ahead and tear out, all right, so that it's back to 0, and then I'm going to add my fluid. All right, I'm not going to do it by volume, okay? I'm going to do it by the actual weight. Now, RaptorLiner says you could use up to 10% of fluids. So if I use 10% of everything added in, right, it's going to be roughly about 4 ounces. So you can't look at this and say, oh, it's 24 ounces here, so I only need 2.4 ounces. Well, no, it's that plus the hardener, all right? So if you're using that plus 8 ounces of hardener, you're now up to 32, which is 3.2, right? So you go to 3.2, and then you're like, okay, well, by the time you add in the extra stuff, you're almost at 4, right? So, you're thinking, okay, 4 ounces. Well, it doesn't need that. You just do up to 10%. So 3.5 to 3 ounces should be sufficient. So I'm going to mix up my non-bound paint, my tint, if you will. I'm going to mix this up. I'm going to go ahead and pour this in till it gets to 3. I'm going to pour that component into here, shake it into these little containers here, and shake it. And then once it's shaken, I'll be able to add my hardener, and then I have 1 hour of pot life with the hardener in it. So it makes sense that I would only mix up the hardener one at a time. So I could tint, pre-tint in advance, and then wait for my hardener. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. Now, I'll be the first to admit it. When it comes to taping and painting, I am not the resource to go to, right? But I can kind of show you what I've done here. And if something turns out wrong, we can suggest, hey, what we could do next time to improve it. This is the first time I've taken on anything like this. So while we are spraying, we got to make sure that we get areas where we want the spray or the RaptorLiner and areas where we don't want it. Now, as you can see, I wasn't too concerned up here with where the existing rubber underliner went. Okay, not too concerned about it. But you can see here where I intend to actually put it. Not around there, but up in the exposed areas around here where it's taped off. Now over here, if I need to, I will pull this off to help prevent some of that overspray. And of course, here we can see where I've got a combination of paper and tape to help prevent that spray. Once you see me start to spray, you'll get an idea of what's going on. Down here, I taped off where the torsion bars would go, and of course, the transmission cross member. Back here, we taped off where the emergency brake cables would go. I also intend to add in a sway bar, and it's not the typical sway bar. I'm actually going to go with the AAR CUDA style sway bar, so that'll go back here. And of course, where the mounts go for the tie downs for towing, those will also be taped off because I got those mounts ready to go. Additionally, I took a moment to make sure that all holes were taped up so you don't get spray inside the cabin. Around the wheel wells, nothing more simple than just standard tape, okay? And I didn't get too far up in there because the idea is I'm not going to be spraying, you know, from a direction that would get it up into this area here. But if I get it, that's a lesson learned. I'll have to sand it down and recoat it anyways, which the car will probably get recoated in the epoxy primer again after my last debacle. So you can kind of see how that works here. Going from this angle, you can see I added some paper as well up into here. And of course, my shooting angle will be here. So from this side, there shouldn't be a lot of overspray. Now, my biggest concern is up here, but I can just simply pull the paper up to help protect the areas that need protecting. And of course, we have tape all the way up to about this area. So this will be all left exposed and all underliner down there. things turned out absolutely wonderfully, especially when you consider this is the first time that I have tackled this. And yeah, for full disclosure here, this is 1 week since the material has been applied. And I got to keep a far distance here with this camera because this camera does not like zooming in because it is an action camera. And unlike other action cameras, this one prefers the focusing from far away. But we're kind of going over some things, and I'm going to point out some things that maybe could have been done better or things that might have been overlooked. Now, you'll see in the clip that played that I did have an extra set of eyeballs to help me spot some things that I might have missed. And that was definitely helpful. And considering, again, that this is the undercoating, I think some places where we actually did miss something, I think it's going to be absolutely acceptable. Things turned out really, really evenly throughout, all things considered. Now, there were some spots, I'll show you in a few moments, that we got a little close with the gun, and things turned out a little less so. Additionally, some of the spots having a little extra tint to it, like this spot right here, okay? Because this, we were getting a little bit low here, and it got to the point where some of that stuff wasn't mixed exactly like the rest, despite the use of the paint shaker. But again, this is the underside of the car, and the only people who are going to see it is me and whoever else works up underneath there, like for alignments and so on and so forth. But pretty much it'll just be me. Now again, we used the color here because, one, instead of going black, it allows me to see things under here. Where's the grease being spattered? Where's the oil coming off of? Where are the things I need to be taken aware of, right? Especially back here where you start having, you got your bump stop for the various things, and then you have, back here you got your spots where your grease gets spattered up through the transmission and so on and so forth. So yeah, overall, really, really happy. Now, as far as the color, I'm going to go to the color thing in just a moment and show you that there. Oh, if you look down here, you can see if you get too close, it will kind of get wavy on you. So just be aware as you're doing your touch-ups. And if you get too close, I had mine set at the recommended 50 PSI. Now, if you look here, there is a slight change in the color. Again, this is single stage, okay? This is the single stage urethane paint. And then, of course, this used the same paint code, except with the RaptorLiner and non-binding tint, or non-binder tint. So you can see there is going to be a slight difference in the color between the two. But it really is, I'm not going to say it's hard to tell because it's obvious, but, hey, that is the difference that you're going to see there, okay? But yeah, I'm absolutely happy with this, and this should provide years of protection. Now, a couple of quick notes as we start to wrap things off. If you think you have used enough paper, chances are you haven't, okay? I ended up getting a lot more splatter than I intended. And so, yeah, if you are taping up, or if you already have a car that's partly painted, you are going to need to tape up and plastic up a whole lot more than what you think. So up here, I had already done some sanding from some of the overspray and some of the, we'll call it orange peel I got, but clearly I need to sand again because that's where some splatter ended up. Not where it was taped, okay, but back up here. So yeah, you will get some splatter. Additionally, got some splatter over there on the walls and what have you. So yeah, just because you think you're good, you're not, all right? So my recommendation is use a whole lot more to protect against the splatter than what you think you need, because I have to spend time now re-sanding all of this, and then I'll have to spray it again. No big deal, all right, but I will have to do it. Hindsight 2020. Now, I did go with the 6-liter system, and my intent was to also do the trunk area in the RaptorLiner. Unfortunately, 6 liters was not enough to do it. So it got me the front aprons, and it got me the entire rest of the underside of the car, but it did not get that. Additionally, I'm also going to do inside the fenders. So I went ahead and bought another 4-quart system, and 2 quarts should be enough to do back here, and 2 quarts should be enough for the fenders. And that should pretty much wrap that up. So what's next for the shell on Project Fastfish? Well, off camera, I'm going to do a few things. One, I'm going to go ahead and paint the inside in here. So I got the specialty stuff that you need to go over the lizard skin, and I'm going to do that special spray up in here. It'll paint it and color it black, and then I'm going to go through the whole inside as kind of like a cut-in and paint it blue as well. So I got that to take care of and finish up back there. I also still have work on the fenders, which you'll see coming out as part of the next episode as we finish things up. So a friendly reminder, thinking about where the car stands, yeah, it looks pretty good. And don't forget, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.